share man's greatest thrill.
Have tried and failed. They've tried and died.
You're dealing with the creme de la creme.
Should I be brave and try and do an intro?
If you want, I'll let you just do the intro of those nights.
Okay. I'll keep it short. Hello and welcome to the Scratchcast, the alternative pop culture podcast. This is... I don't even know what to say. This is... I'm Snedge, your host, and I'm here once again with the inimitable Grant Patterson. How are you doing, Grant?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. This week we'll be talking about EPs from Girl in Red and Yammerer, albums from Viagra Boys, Fontaines DC, Amyl and the Sniffers, and Microwave. What would you like to start with?
How about we discuss the Fontaines DC Doggerel album first of all. So this was released on the 12th of April 2019. There's 11 songs in it. It's approximately 39 minutes and 53 seconds long. I hadn't heard of them before. I was kind of pretty late to the party. It wasn't until our mutual friend, young Thomas Page, introduced them to me that I first started listening to them. Ever the arbiter of kind of good music. He's normally quite a good judgment of kind of good music. It was him that first introduced me to the likes of the Daikinis, the XX, that type of thing. He first introduced me to, it was the second song in the album, Sha Sha Sha, which I wasn't particularly enamoured with at first, but the more I listen to the album, it's phenomenal. It's an album that I keep coming back to time and time again. I think it's absolutely class. They're a band that are originally from Dublin, and like I said to you kind of earlier on before we first started the podcast, I wasn't too sure what the kind of title of the album meant. I'd originally thought that it was some sort of maybe Irish or kind of Dublin slang, but when I kind of looked into it, the word means poetry that is irregular in rhythm and rhyme. Alternatively, it can also mean verse which has a monotonous rhythm, easy rhyme, and cheap or trivial meaning. And although I don't believe the kind of latter to be kind of true of the album, certainly the kind of front man, I forget his name off the top of my head.
Brian Chatton?
Brian Chatton.
I don't know how you
We're probably
pronounce
not
that.
doing the pronunciation any justice.
Grian, could be Grian, like Darryl Brian, like Grian Chatton, let's go with that.
Aye. Like I said, I don't believe the kind of latter to be true. I don't think there's anything cheap or kind of trivial about the kind of album. However, he does sing in this kind of weird's maybe not the right word, but kind of like a monotonous, offbeat kind of rhythm. And interestingly, I read an article from The Guardian by a guy called Dean Van Nugent, which was released on the 5th of the 4th 2019, where the frontman Graham Chatton, who we've just kind of mentioned, said that he thought that their music sounds like buses and trains and just hordes of people in particular streets in Dublin. And I suppose that's kind of keeping with this kind of offbeat.
It's an interesting description.
Rhythm and rhyme. It is.
I think I've written down basically the exact same definition as you have. Poetry that's irregular in rhyme and rhythm, and that's generally considered derogatory, like a derogatory sort of term. So I think it's quite an apt description for his style of singing, but it certainly shouldn't be considered derogatory in this case, because I think it's a big asset to the album, and it was actually a barrier to me getting into this album in the first place, because he doesn't sing, he just kind of talks, and a lot of the lyrics are difficult to interpret, and sometimes it's there's some repetition that's a bit, like you say, monotonous. So when I kind of first listened to this album, I didn't find it that exciting, certainly from a vocal perspective, but there was some really interesting musicianship behind it that got me interested, and it just was a matter of getting used to that style absolutely. Of vocal, and now I think it's really good. Sha Sha Sha, you mentioned, not sure that would be the best song to introduce somebody to Fontaines DC. It's a good song, sounds like opening bars remind me of like London's Calling by the Clash for some reason.
Yeah,
Like just that first kind of opening thing, and it's like, I mean, Fontaines DC are like a post-punk band.
Yeah, that's probably how I would describe them.
But there are some classic punk sounds on this as well, which is quite cool to listen to. They also reminded me a little bit of like bands like Idols because of that sort of non-singing vocal performance. So Idols are maybe a bit more gruff and in your face, but there's that sort of similar like wordy kind of lyrics sort of talking. But I would say that Fontaines DC have got much more varied and complex musicianship than a band like Idols. I don't know what your sort of standout songs are on this.
As we said earlier on, like there's very few in this album for me that don't stand out. I think the first song of the album, Big, which was kind of released as a single on the 7th of February earlier on this year, is an absolute banger. Like, you know, it's got some quite unusual lyrics that, you know, like you said, you know, it does sound like kind of poetry, and I've kind of heard them actually likened to like Sir James Joyce, who was like a famous Irish kind of poet and writer. And that song opens with this kind of declaration of intent that kind of Dublin in the rain is mine, which is kind of repeated numerous times, and then he later goes on to say that he's going to be big. You know, my childhood will smile, but I'm going to be big. And it does seem like we've said kind of previous about kind of some of the other artists that we've covered, namely Black Futures. It does seem like this kind of declaration of intent, like they're going to be here to stay.
Yeah, he's basically saying, like,
this is it.
yeah. We're on to something here. We're gonna be massive, whether you like it or not, kind of thing. I think he says, does he not say my childhood is small?
Oh, is it?
I think that's what he says. So I think he says my childhood was small, but I'm gonna be big. So he's sort of saying, you know, I don't come from much, but I'm gonna be something.
Yeah. That kind of makes more sense than my childhood will smile. Yeah.
But then the lyrics on here are really difficult to interpret on a lot of these songs. So, you know, some of this stuff I've had to look up what they're even about. I mean, Big's fairly obvious.
Yeah.
But there's stuff on here that I have no idea what's going on.
Is sha a thing? Like, is that something that people say? Or is that...
I don't know. I couldn't find out if that was like a colloquial sort of thing, but I don't know if it's just like a sort of placeholder sort of... Oh, it's just a load of sha, like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, aye, okay. Yeah, just a kind of filler, as it were.
Yeah, I couldn't find any evidence of it being like a colloquial term, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that can correct us. There's some good lyrics in Sha actually. There's a bit about a cabbie pisses on the wheel of his own car.
Yeah,
and later on there's manic and retching like a drunken perv.
That's well, the lyric about the taxi drivers, but I've got kind of written down here. It kind of paints a pretty bleak picture of kind of city life, and I think maybe city life in particular at night. Yeah. Because I think it kind of ends with saying, "Here comes the sun." That's another one done. That's another one done. So that's another night over.
Yeah, absolutely. The song comes straight after Sha. Actually, Too Real. Like I was talking about this sort of musicianship, and it opens a lot like a Pearl Jam song for me.
Right, okay.
There's a couple of songs, Immortality and Rearview Mirror, and it sounds like a bit of a mixture of those two songs. And I'm a pretty big Pearl Jam fan, so anything that sounds like Pearl Jam will just suck me in. And it's got like that kind of groove of a band that have played together for a long time. They just sort of lock into it. So it's a really cool sort of rhythm that it starts with, and that kind of repeats throughout the song. But one of the things with his the way he sings is you've got this kind of intro build, and you expect like a big scream to come in as everything kicks in, and he just sort of goes ah.
But I it's one of my favourite songs on the album, and I find myself joining in with that whenever I listen to it. I think it's a banger of a tune.
It's not even like, I think we both like overdid it there. It's like it's
probably
like not a big.
It's probably less intense than what we just did.
But it is really good. It kind of amuses me every time, but like you say, I join in with it as well. So I've written here, it's like you're at the dentist. like
And the dentist is asked you to say
at the dentist. So, but it's really fun. And then after that, it just like there's that sort of Pearl Jam groove, and then it just goes into this mad experimental apocalyptic guitar slide, and I've put, it sounds like someone hitting an electric fence with a shovel. There's like a really weird like like electric, like it's like somebody bashing their guitar with a hammer kind of thing.
In combination with this really heavy echoey drum sound as well at some points.
Yeah. So yeah, Too Real's a great song. It's got a really cool rumbling bass outro. One of the things I'm not too much a fan of is the repeated line of "Is it too real for ya?" And only because it's the delivery of like, "Is it too real for ya?"
Yeah.
And then it because he repeats it so many times, it does get a bit too real for me.
There's a point where he kind of changes. He changes how he delivers that line at one point where it's like, "Is it too real for ya?" As opposed to kind of shouting it. I think it's just on one occasion kind of towards the end of the song.
Yeah, which, I mean, you can imagine that if it was being quite powerful, if it was sung and there's the changes and you could sort of join in with that singing along, but it's just spoken. So it's more than spoken.
Yeah,
like not doing enough justice just saying he's speaking, because there is a tune to the way he talks. It isn't just reading it off the page. Yeah. So I mean, like you said, we could talk about most of the songs here, but any other particular ones you want to talk about?
Television Screens, which is the kind of the next song after Too Real. I'd say it was kind of a lot more melodic than the kind of previous numbers. For some reason, it kind of reminded me of Smith's song. I don't know why. I think just in terms of kind of like content and this kind of stuff that they're kind of talking about. Roy's tune was another kind of chilled out number. I was particularly taken by Lots, which is the kind of 7th track on the album.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of fantastic. That opening riff in particular reminded me of the Cure song "A Forest."
Okay.
And then kind of towards the end, kind of like the outro, which kind of starts at the kind of 2:53 minute to the kind of 4:57 mark, which kind of brings about the end of the song. Reminded me of kind of Echo and the Bunnymen as well, so kind of keeping with that kind of post-punk sound that we kind of mentioned earlier on.
It's just this sort of haunting, like la la la.
That's
section.
Exactly.
It reminded me of Golden Brown by the Stranglers.
Oh, right,
That sort of spooky bit towards the end where he's just sort of singing the Golden Brown part. So it's just that's the kind of thing that I got from that. But for the Lots, I've just written down, I have no idea what the lyrics mean, but it all sounds very grand and meaningful. Full of sadness, troubling and heartbreaking. So I do think it's a really good song, but like, I'm not good at interpreting this kind of poetry.
And that's what it is. I think, that's quite it does feel more like poetry than lyrics.
Yeah, and maybe there were multiple interpretations. I think the Lots is an area of Dublin, but I couldn't really figure it out.
I kind of got the interpretation that it was, is it a bit of drug dealer?
Possibly, like, there's people stand on street corners, so it could just be a sort of
an area that people
a downtrodden area with lots of seedy things going on, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it quite difficult to figure it out. You mentioned Roy's tune.
Yeah.
I think it's like the musical canvas that they create on this song. It's really joyful, but the actual lyrics themselves are really sad and lamenting, and it's like about the struggle of working class life and possibly looking back on better times of youth. Like some of the lyrics are, "The breeze in the night time would kill you stone dead. It was a message I heard when the company said there is no warning and there is no future." He goes on to say, "I was a cool kid on the curbstone scene, and the lights in my eyes were evergreen, just like you've never seen." I kind of managed to pull out what was going on from this one, and I think the lyrics are really powerful, and they're like, it's a really fun song to join in with. I think the melody on this one is really good to just sing along with. I say sing, but sort of join in with.
Yeah.
So yeah, Roy's tune's definitely a big one for me. Checklist, Reckless. It sort of opens like God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols. It's got that really sort of old school like punk riff, the way that opens. And it kind of goes, it becomes a bit more rock and roll-y. There's actually a Ramones song, it's called Rock and Roll Radio. It's one of their later tracks where they were produced by Phil Spector. And they took on, well, as the name suggests, they took on a sort of more radio sort of friendly sound. And it just reminds me of that. It's just rock and roll with some saxophone added in, and it's a little bit darker than Rock and Roll Radio. It's kind of a stomping, kind of fist pump, happy radio track, but it's got that similar vibe with maybe just a sort of darker, a little bit of a darker tone. But it's got some, it's actually got some of my favourite lyrics, which is basically just him laying out some descriptions. A sellout is someone who becomes a hypocrite in the name of money. An idiot is someone who lets their education do all of their thinking. Money is the sandpit of the soul. And there's probably more examples. It's got that kind of rip-roaring kind of rock and roll tune behind it while he's just kind of delivering these statements, and they're like just full of truth. It's really powerful. Definitely one of my favourite tracks on the album, at least. I mean, I could talk about every song here to be completely
Liberty
honest.
Bell's kind of worth a mention, isn't it? That's the kind of following song on from kind of Checklist, Reckless. It opens with that amazing lyric. You know, I love that violence that you get around here, that kind of ready steady violence, that violent how do you do, which is repeated on numerous occasions throughout the song. I thought it was great as well.
Yeah, again, that's
another one that you kind of join in with.
Yeah, one of the best moments on the album, and again it's got another sort of old school punk rock guitar riff, like driving drums, and this another song just feels like something that the Ramones might have written. It's more of a sort of post-punk album. There's a lot of stuff for fans of more straight ahead punk rock and old school punk as well on here. And you've got Boys in the Better Land, which is it's just a kind of straight up banger. It's quite a long song, but with lyrics about getting the hell out of Dodge and looking for a better life elsewhere, and it just sort of, it's got some like jangling guitar riffs, and it just says, you know, doesn't matter what you are, just get out of here. Like, find yourself a better life. Then I suppose something a little bit different, you've got the final track, Dublin City Sky, which is it's pretty much like a trad folk song, and it seems to be about the end of a toxic relationship. And I read up on this song, and there's apparently about the sort of gentrification of Ireland and the death of Ireland's traditional soul, and there's a sort of focus on money over art and quality of life, but I don't know whether that actually comes through in the lyrics, but that's certainly...
No, I'm trying to think of the lyrical quality, because there's a reference made to, is it my lover wrapping her arms round the flag of power?
Yeah.
And that's kind of seen as being negative in some way, so I don't know.
I'm not sure, like, funnily enough, this is one of the songs I didn't write any lyrics down for.
No,
but
neither did I.
It's basically talks about sort of going into into a bar, and there's this woman dancing, and he dances around with her, and then she calls him a liar or something like that, and he's like, yeah, I've treated you badly, and then but it's all a bit hazy, yeah, and it's like he meets this woman, falls in love, and then he treats her badly, and then loses her. But it's really difficult to...
It's interesting that you say, though, that it's kind of like a trad folk song, because as we were kind of saying earlier on, it kind of instantly reminded me of a song called The Broad Majestic Shannon, which is a song by the Pogues from, I think it's maybe their third studio album, If I Should Fall From Grace From God. Both songs are kind of similar in terms of their kind of content and kind of overall feel. But interesting, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but for some reason, see the outro, which kind of starts around about the kind of 4-minute mark, it reminded me of early Kings of Leon.
Yeah. I can't think what the outro sounds like right now. So you could be right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, early Kings of Leon, they are essentially a folk band.
In particular, the first album,
Yeah.
which I can never remember the proper... Is it Young...
Oh, Youth and Young Manhood.
Youth
Is that right?
Young, yeah, something like that.
So,
yeah.
So, yeah, you could be right, because that was sort of an indie folk record, I suppose.
Aye. In particular, it's just like, I've kind of made a note here, it's like something to do with the bass line. When the bass line comes in at about the kind of 420 mark, it just reminded me of their kind of early songs.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing bad about being likened to early Kings of Leon. You might not want to be likened to like Sex on Fire Kings of Leon, but certainly their early stuff.
Yeah,
was
really good. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Are you going to rate this album, Christopher?
Am I going to rate it?
Yes. Are we still doing these ratings?
I don't know.
And if so, what would you give
Do you think we should
Fontaines
rate?
by DC?
Do you think we should still rate albums? Do you think it's worthwhile?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, we've been doing it up to this point, so
May as well.
we may as well just keep rating them. In that case, I think I'd give it a 9. I think a 9 out of 10. I think it's a really, really good album, and despite it taking me a minute to get into, mostly because of the vocal delivery, I think it's really, really rewarding. There's lots of lyrics to dive into, try and interpret them however way you will. There's some really good musicianship. They're a really good band. Like they lock into a groove. They throw in some weird experimental shit. There's some sort of jazz and sax in there every now and again, and some really great sort of punk rock moments. So yeah, absolutely brilliant album. Easy 9.
Easy 9, possibly 10 out of 10.
You think so?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
I think so. Quite a bold statement right enough, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, yeah. So yeah, I'd be very tempted to give it a 10 out of 10.
Well,
there we have it.
there we have it, okay. So that was Dogfall by Fontaines DC. The debut album by Fontaines DC, I think we forgot to mention.
Steady violence. I was down the bottom half of some old bar in Chinatown.
What would you like to talk about next?
Girl in Red,
Girl
Chapter
in
2.
Red. So this is the second EP by Norwegian indie singer-songwriter Marie Alvin Ringheim. I think is that right?
I've got Marie Alvin. I never realised that was her full name. Maybe I've just kind of written down incorrectly. But yeah, she's only 19 years old as well, which is quite phenomenal.
So the EP is called Chapter 2. It's 15 minutes and 55 seconds long, which is was kind of perfect for me, because when I listened to this the first few times, it was on a Thursday morning where I do a wee delivery job, and as I'm driving from my home to where I start, it takes about 15 minutes. So I just that EP is like the perfect length just for that journey. So that was a happy coincidence. But what's interesting about Girl in Red is that she records and produces all of this music from the confines of her bedroom. Yeah, so she, records all the lyrics and all the vocals and the instruments, and does all the production just out of her home. And I think it's worth noting that, because the result of all that is really impressive. Like really impressive for having essentially done it all on her own.
Yeah. I'm going to sound like a dickhead, but when we were kind of talking earlier on, I did say that there was such a warmth to these recordings. Like, they're great, and I never actually realised she recorded it by herself in her room, so that's Yeah, that's really something.
There's only 5 tracks, so we as well just talk about them all.
Yeah.
So it opens with Watch You Sleep, which is a sort of really bright, dreamlike song. It's got some lush guitars, like a bit of reverb and delay and soothing vocals. It's about 3 minutes long. There's no drums until about 2/3 of the way through.
Kind of 2 minute mark, just under the 2 minute mark.
And it seems to be a song about an early relationship where the sort of protagonist of the song, or girl in red, wants to spend every moment with her partner. And I want to watch you sleep and listen to you breathe. I don't ever want to leave. I'll watch you sleep. And it's a really sort of dreamy and floaty song, and the lyrics, I mean, it's not delivered in a sort of soppy kind of way, which you might expect from the way that I've described it, but there's also a bit of humour in there. I love the line that says, I never get bored of looking at you because every time I see something new, like the scar on your spine, you fell off a roof when you were 9. You lived a life before me. So that kind of thing sort of pulls you in. Her vocal performance is really good and really impressive. Like you said, like the warmth that comes through, it's hard not to love. And one thing I picked up at the end of this song actually is around the 2 minute mark, where the sort of the drums kick in, the vocals sort of start to sound further and further away in the distance. Like it's almost like this sort of hopeful relationship is starting to fade away, and the shouts of I'll watch you sleep get farther and farther away, as if it's sort of deteriorating. That's just something that I kind of picked up on. Whether that was the intention or not, I like to think that it was, but that's just my interpretation of it. Which I feel leads somewhat into the next song, which is called I Need to Be Alone, and it's kind of tonally opposite to Watch You Sleep. It's like the lyrics are I need to be alone or I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah.
So I mean you go from that I don't want to leave you and I want to watch you sleep, to this I need to be alone or I'm going to lose my shit. And whether it's a direct sort of lead on from that or not, because some of the other lyrics talk about being sort of stuck in a rut and each day feeling the same and falling out of conversations and wasting life on pointless things, that kind of thing. And so it's maybe a song about depression, but it could equally be a sort of a carry on from the first song into that relationship sort of crumbling away and becoming something a bit more toxic.
Yeah, I've kind of agreed with you in my notes here. I've kind of said, the lyrical content kind of hints at possible mental health issues. Like you said, she's unable to kind of stay focused in conversations. I can't pay attention, repeat the question is one of the lyrics. As you said earlier on, I need to be alone or I'm going to lose my shit, and it kind of touches on a lot of the same themes as one of our previous songs, which was... it's called Summer Depression.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's just straight up. Yeah, there's no ambiguity there. I think that was released as part of our first EP, Chapter 1 in 2018. And lyrics, there's a lyric in that says, there's so much time to contemplate my life. Summer Depression.
Yeah, I didn't really take the time to delve into her back catalogue, but I think I definitely will after having listened to this and enjoying it so much.
I don't think Chapter 1 is necessarily available in or on Spotify. However, a few of the singles are. Okay, so you can listen to the singles from there, Summer Depression being one of them.
Cool. I focus a lot, we kind of focus on the lyrics a lot here, but the sort of background music, there's a sort of, it's almost like an island music kind of riff that's going on, like a Caribbean almost sort of sound to the guitar riffs on this song, and then there's really sort of gentle drumming which really works well with a sort of dream-like vocals. So it's a good song. And then the next track is Dead Girl in the Pool. What do you think of Dead Girl in the Pool?
Yeah, like I said when we were kind of speaking earlier on, I don't know what to make of some of the kind of notes that I've written down here, but here I've got is the opening bars kind of reminded me of an Empire of the Sun song, okay. We Are the People. However, on reflection, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if it's just the way that she kind of plays the guitar that kind of reminds me of that song, right. Rather than the actual melody or chords or whatever that's being played. But no, I really enjoyed it. I
like how it's like a really jaunty, like acoustic guitar melody that comes in to like open the song, and kind of it goes pretty much throughout the song as well. Mm-hmm. But then the lyrics are like waking up after a really heavy session at a party. And like looking out the window and seeing a dead girl floating in the pool, and it's just that kind of jaunty, the sort of jaunty musicianship and the sort of dark lyrics. It's just sort of a sort of razor sharp kind of wit that I really enjoyed, and I think the vocal performance really shows off the strength of her voice as well. Yeah, like she's like a genuinely good singer.
I was really surprised to find out that it was just her. I thought there was kind of two singers.
I think the vocals on the start of this song are double tracked, so it does kind of sound like it's a duo, and someone else is singing. But I think it really works really well with that sort of vibe where it sounds like there are two singers. But we obviously talk about her spotting this dead girl through the window, and then she goes on to say that like later, I'm the dead girl in the pool, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and
so it's like, I think that sort of breeds like a really interesting situation where she had this party, and then she wakes up and she's wandering around, and then she spots a dead girl in the pool, and she's that dead girl. So is it like her ghost?
Yeah,
that's walking around. You know,
she's a ghost. Yeah,
it's like I think that's a really cool kind of concept for a song. A really interesting concept. And it's a fucking great fun to sing along to as well.
If you can especially that lyric.
If you can hit
you
can hit those falsettos. Okay, so track 4, I'll Die Anyway. This similarities in this song to
You Need to Be Alone.
Yeah.
Summer depression, I suppose, as well.
Themes of depression.
I've kind of described it as a pop song about the futility of life.
It's a pretty
and made reference to the lyric, it's fine, it's okay, I'll die anyway.
Yeah, so it's just basically someone coming to terms with the fact that, you know, they're depressed, but it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah,
it's fine. I don't mind. Sort of ghostly, ethereal vocals. And just to bolster that kind of acceptance, it's like accepting I'm pointless isn't the hardest when it's so completely obvious. My questions are countless, looking for answers, so far I'm clueless, go back to sleep. Mm-hmm. So it's a sort of resignation, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe go back to what I was talking about with the first two tracks, where I was like, Watch You Sleep is maybe, you know, this burgeoning relationship, and I Need to Be Alone is maybe that kind of falling apart. Then Dead Girl in the Pool is possibly a sort of, you know, going wild after a relationship, and then I'll Die Anyway is the sort of crushing realisation of, well, it's all pointless.
That's the fear that you get when you're hungover, possibly after a crazy party.
It could be that, actually. That's quite interesting, yeah. Crushing depression of being hungover. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this sort of thread exists, but I'm building it for myself.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then the final song, Bad Idea, is like about a sort of regretful booty call.
Yeah.
And I've written here possibly with a person from the first song, which is my kind of, this is like taking it full circle. And I really like the vocal delivery on this song. It's like a sort of really like low, the way she sings is like, in comparison to the other tracks, she sings in a really low.
How would you describe her vocal delivery? Because I've written some mad notes here, man.
I don't know. I just like, it's quite,
Because
it's a more sort of masculine kind of deep delivery.
I've kind of written here, don't know how to describe vocals in the kind of opening bars of the song, and I've said that kind of warble, that kind of deep tone, kind of reminded me a wee bit of the kind of female, almost rockabilly, psychobilly singers. But I've said, that parallel to that genre of music is fairly short-lived, and you know, that's where that parallel kind of really starts and finishes, because then it becomes like a kind of electro pop song.
Yeah, I get the sort of warbling. It's not like, it's sort of a subtle.
To describe
it's
it.
kind of a subtle like warble at the end of like a line. But I just think it's a really interesting the way it's just a sort of deep, like a much deeper delivery than before, and it just keeps things fresh and interesting rather than just going for the same kind of style throughout the rest of the EP.
Kind of reminded me of some of Lady Hawk stuff.
Not a band I know the name.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
I only know a handful of their songs, but yeah, it for some reason it kind of reminded me of her. Paris is Burning and kind of songs like that.
Yeah, and there's some pretty cool like indie guitar licks like in the chorus, which I found myself really enjoying. So I don't know how you sort of describe the overall sound of this. It's sort of...
It starts off like indie acoustic, like you said, and then it kind of finishes with that kind of electric pop.
There's a bit of like sort of shoegaze on it, like the guitars are sort of they're not distorted. There's lots of effects like used on the guitars. There's a lot of there's some reverb and delay, and like there are some sorts of elements of shoegaze on here, but for the most part it's like sort of indie acoustic sort of thing. But I think it's a really good EP.
Yeah, absolutely.
And apparently our debut album will be coming out in 2020,
right,
called World in Red, I think. I haven't written it down, but I think that's what it's called. So I'll definitely be looking forward to hearing that.
And would the plan be, do you think, to kind of bring the two EPs together into the one album and maybe looking at some additional material?
I would hope it would be entirely new material rather than a sort of double EP.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a sort of double EP release at some stage, to put the two chapters together, but I'd like to think that this World in Red album will be entirely new material.
It's probably also worth mentioning as well, so she's kind of been hailed as an LGBTQ plus icon.
Yeah.
Because she's obviously she's singing about same-sex relationships as well. However, in that article that I don't know if I did mention earlier on, but I kind of read an article. Where was it from again? It was released on the 14th of February, so Valentine's Day this year, and it was written by a person called Tara Aquino for Complex, a website called Complex, where Marie Alvin, Girl in Red, was kind of been hailed as an LGBTQ plus kind of champion and icon. However, she just wants to be honest. She doesn't necessarily want to take that on board, as it were. She just wants to be open and honest with people.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the name of the song, but there is a song like when I've listened to chapter 2, when it ends, it automatically skips onto like another song.
Yeah.
And there's obvious kind of same-sex relationship lyrics in that song. I can't think of the one that I mean, but I think in chapter 2 it's non-specific. You could easily interpret it as a hetero like relationship, or you know, or interpret in any other way. It's not specific. It doesn't say, you know, it's men and women or women and women or anything like that. It just is, and I think that's goes well with what she's saying. She just wants to be open and honest, and there's no he or she on chapter 2 at all, I don't think, other than maybe when she's referring to herself as the dead girl in the pool. I
think that I was just kind of having a look at my phone there. I think the two songs that possible two songs that you're kind of talking about there, referencing, is We Fell in Love in October.
That's it.
And also I Want to Be Your Girlfriend. I can't remember.
Actually, it might be both.
It might be both.
It might be both. So I think I've heard them both. So the names are familiar.
I can't remember. I think I Want to Be Your Girlfriend ends with this repetition of I Want to Be Your Girl, and possibly, I can't remember if it's in that song or if it's in I Fell in Love on October. She says that I want to be your bitch.
Okay.
Or something like that, but I can't remember which of the two songs it's in. It might very well just be in I Want to Be Your Girlfriend.
So I think that's demonstrating that sort of subtle humour that's on chapter 2 as well.
Yeah.
I think I like that kind of subtle wit to some of the lyrics, not being too they don't hit you over the head like a hammer. They just kind of, it's just nice little snippets to find.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you rate it? Yeah.
I find it difficult to give any album that was read less than kind of an 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because it's great. You can't fault it. I'd probably be inclined to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. I think it's a strong 9 again, and it just makes me really hopeful for the album.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually quite a nice, neat little package the way it is in as an EP. It just flows really well, and it it starts well, it ends well. And it's just a nice little a good way to spend a quarter of an hour.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm sure we'll find something that we're not going to like, but
well, we have already.
well, we have, but it was alright.
It was still good.
It was still good enough.
Had its moments.
So that was chapter 2, the latest EP by Girl in Red.
The morning sun shines on your skin. I'm falling out of conversations. This is the morning after. The house is such a disaster. There's a dead girl in the pool. There's a dead girl in the pool. Was such a bad idea, 'cause now everything's wrong.
What should we do next?
What would you like to do?
Let's just do Viagra Boys.
Viagra Boys.
So next in my notes, so let's just go through. So this is Street Worms, the
Deluxe edition.
This is a deluxe edition, yes. So Street Worms is a debut album from Viagra Boys. It was originally released in September 2018. Now that original release had, I think, 9 tracks on it.
Yeah.
And this is the deluxe version, which came out in March this year and has an extra 5 tracks. So we're talking 14 tracks, and it runs at about 54 minutes. So, I mean, I've never heard of Viagra Boys before. They've got 2 EPs. One, Consistency of Energy, came out in 2016, and Call of the Wild in 2017. I haven't listened to either of them. And like I said, I hadn't heard of them before this album. They're a sort of post-punk band with elements of desert rock, be sort of groove rock, and a bit of stoner rock thrown in there, I'd say.
Bits of everything. It's such a textured and layered album.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, there's bits of jazz. There's, I think one of the members of the band plays the saxophone permanently, so there's a lot of saxophone in here, which is not a bad thing. I think we were both surprised to find that this is the band are Swedish.
Yep.
They're from Stockholm, Sweden, but the vocal delivery is sounds very American. Very Southern American, like a
Southern drawl.
A sort of Southern drawl, yeah. A deeply, quite deeply delivered Southern drawl. So what are your overall thoughts on Viagra Boys?
I thought it was fantastic. I think there's a humour that kind of runs throughout all the tracks. It's just quite fun. You know, they sing about some really obscure and unusual stuff, like a frog going undercover, and Frog Strap, which is it Frog Strap or Frog Strapper? Frog Strap's the 7th song. That song in particular, I mean, I thought that could have came straight out of something from South Park. There was points where I thought it sounded like Trey Parker singing.
Yeah.
One of the co-creators as kind of South Park.
It's like it's a great song. About like a frog going undercover and spying on humans. Like the lyrics are just hilarious. Like there's a bit that says, "But the faces showed disbelief that there could be an amphibian enlisted in on your plan. How did it sit by undetected? There's nothing that could spy on man. Unless it was an endothermic being and it could breathe through its skin. But how the hell could a tetrapod be able to blend in? Frog strap infiltrator in your jacket." It's just like a lot of humour, a lot of fun. And I mean, as this is going on, there's just like a cool as fuck bass line in the background, a real like foot shuffling beat, and this sort of weird electronics and synths kind of flourishing in the background, and some like stabbing guitar riffs as well. So it's just there's a lot to love, and that sort of theme is throughout the album. That like driving bass and drums and sort of spiky angular guitars is all over the album, and it's almost a formula, but I wouldn't go as far to call it like the album formulaic, because it's just so good, and it's, you know, it's not always the same. They mix it up quite a bit, but there's always that sort of driving bass and just sort of a thumping beat that you can just kind of tap your foot to.
So what other songs kind of stuck out for you?
Sports.
Yeah. Have you seen the video to Sports?
I have seen Sports, yeah. I have seen the video to Sports, rather. So the video is just like the
lead singer stoating about a dead.
Well, he's lead singer. He's shirtless. He's absolutely tattooed all over his body. Yeah. And he's just like stumbling about an indoor tennis court while there's a match going on around him. Yeah. And getting hit in the head by tennis balls, and he just looks like an absolute like junkie maniac. like while this is going on, but that's the first song that I heard. It must have been re-released as a single or something.
Yeah, it was released as a single on the 8th of July.
So I've put it on the sort of July playlist. So it must have just come up when it came out, and I like instantly loved it. It's got like the intro has got like percussion that sounds like a ping pong ball going back and forth. Yeah. And that's mimicked by some like guitar harmonics and then like guitar squeals, like, you know, it's mimicking that same percussion. And the singer basically just sings about things related to sports, but he also sings about things that aren't related to sports.
Well, kind of to begin with, he kind of talks about things that are related.
Because he's like baseball, basketball, wiener dogs. And then later on he's like smoking dope, getting high in the morning, buying things off the internet. And it doesn't make any sense.
I think later on he says something like, what is it? Is it wearing sunshades in the morning is a sport? Or wearing sunshades as you sleep is a sport. Something like that. Maybe. I've actually written down he sounds American as fuck. Like I said, I was really taken aback to find out that they're Swedish. Yeah.
Especially when he says wiener dogs, it's like the most American sounding thing. And yeah, it's just a great tune. There's a real groovy shuffle from the guitars, and then it's like a moment. I'm not sure how long the song is, but about the 2-minute mark, it just turns into like a manic fever dream where he's like screaming about sports as though he's had some kind of traumatic experience in his life. He's like, sports. Like, he's just losing his mind to sports.
I've written here that the kind of 2.5 minute mark, lead singer just starts screaming, he's howling, he starts singing in gibberish.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great though.
But yeah, like it's hard not to
like
it. It's just
there's something just really cool about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just
it's utter nonsense, but it's beautiful nonsense. One of the really standout songs for me is Just Like You.
Yeah, that was released as a single as
was
well on the 30th of August 2018, and there's a video for that as well, but I haven't seen the video for that.
But I don't know if it's my favourite track, but it's right up there. Just like, it's just he's singing about having a dream about having a great life, and like, you know, he's got a small dog, but it looked like a big dog.
It's a very small dog that reminded him of a big dog.
Yeah, like I love that the descriptions of things, the way things are described and how he sets a scene, but the way, like, just this song is like, everything's great, everything's fantastic in his dream, and he's saying about how he's glad he didn't end up just like you, like some kind of psychopath. And it's like, is he talking to himself? You know, is he the psychopath and this dream?
Yeah, I never wasn't too sure how to interpret that either. Or is the person that's got the small dog in the house, is that...
Yeah, because at one point he mentions he wakes up from the dream and he's in this like sort of junkie den with all these down and outs, and he's like, oh, thank God I didn't end up like you, like in this fucked up society. So it's almost like he's in part of the song he's saying, you know, there's this great life, a happy family, and he's glad he didn't end up like you, like a psychopath. He's always referring to himself, but it's like juxtaposed later when he wakes up and he's like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't end up like you, like with the nice life.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of it either.
I'm not sure which it is, or is it both? It's, you know, doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. No. It's just a really, I love them this bursts of saxophone on this, like little spurts that just kind of go with the beat, and it's like a really smoky kind of brooding song. It's just absolutely brilliant.
This is immediately followed up by my favourite song on the album, Shrimp Shack.
Oh really? Okay.
it's one of my favourite. It's quite a long song. It's 6 minutes 11 seconds long. As we were kind of saying earlier on, there is kind of a lot of kind of texture and kind of layers. Like you said, it's almost like a formula, but it's not formulaic. You know, we've got this kind of heavy drums, guitar riff, there's synth. I couldn't tell if there was kind of hand claps in there or if it was a reprise of that kind of ping pong ball sound from sports.
There might be hand claps. I haven't written it down, but I do have vague recollection of there being hand claps somewhere.
Yeah, and it's really good. Again, the lyrical content is kind of second to none. He kind of talks about I think a friend or associate's mum turning up at the Shrimp Shack, asking where he'd been. I think he says that he tells her a lie, wasn't too sure where he was. He takes off his shirt, she takes off his. They roll in the dirt and get dirty.
Yeah.
And then that's followed up by I'm surfing with your mum.
Yeah, surfing in the dirt with your mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I don't give a shit. And I quite believe he doesn't give a shit.
No, it's like...
He's such a cool character.
This album is absolutely hilarious. And
but that doesn't detract. Like, yeah, there's kind of, like we said, humour peppered throughout. I mean, it's consistently throughout all the songs. But I don't think that it kind of distracts from the music, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't... Just because there's humour in there doesn't necessarily make it a kind of novelty album.
It's not, it's not, you know, it's not Chef's chocolate salty balls. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, I know you mentioned that Frog Stop sounded a bit like Trey Parker could have sang and wrote it, but there is that element to it. But it's not just a joke. You know?
No,
it's
not at all. No.
There's some proper musicianship on it, and Shrimp Shack. Only about half of it has lyrics. The last couple of minutes it's just constant groove. It just locks into a groove and it just drives and drives and drives, and it's a proper like foot to the floor song when you're driving in your car. And there's lots of cool percussion and like spurts and grunts of saxophone. I've sort of said it's like a flock of anarchist geese on a rampage. But yeah, a really interesting album. I think I mentioned before that most of the songs have got that sort of driving groove to them, but there's a song called Worms which dials it back a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a lot slower. It's still got that kind of shuffling beat to it, but yeah, it's more lethargic and it's kind of it's a song about being dead and buried in the ground and getting eaten by worms. I mean, the lyrics are a bit more subtle than my way of putting it, but that's essentially what it's about, and it's got some really cool like desert rock guitar twangs and sort of atonal saxophones. The end to the original release would have been track 9, Amphetanarchy.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool song title, if nothing else. It's like the end of Shrimp Shack. It's like a groove track. I don't think there's any lyrics on it at all.
There's not that I could.
Yeah. So it's 6 minutes of just groove, and I think it's good, but I'm not sure that's the way I would have liked the album to end. Like if I'd listened to this for the first time in 2018 and it had ended on this 6 minute long track with no lyrics, I think it's still good, but I think it would have been like, oh, that's it, finished. Well, I mean, the strongest songs are the ones that tell a story in an entertaining way. So it's kind of like you want your final track to have a sort of an impact, and Amphetanarchy, it's just the instrumental part.
Yeah.
You want there to be a story over the top of it, but I mean, because it's got that sort of dark and brooding like feel to it, and it sounds depraved just the instrumentation, but it would be cool if it did have some lyrical content to it. Although that said, we're listening to the deluxe version, so it doesn't end there, so there's less scrutiny, I suppose, on that song, because it's not the last track on this version. So it's actually really good, but I just feel like it would have been on the original release. It's probably a bit weaker, being the final track. So how do you feel about these last 5 songs, these are new tracks?
I want to meet the Jungle Man and learn the jungle dance.
He's wise, he knows a lot of things.
He does. I get it, yeah, I really enjoyed that song. It's got some, well, I've described it as comedy monkey noises at the kind of 2:20 mark, and then it was kind of repeated at the 2:20 mark, which again, you know, I've kind of said that, you know, there is kind of humour kind of peppered throughout the kind of course of this album. However, it doesn't kind of distract from the kind of musical integrity of the kind of album. However, those two sounds reminded me of something from the Mighty Bush for some reason. Yeah, I think it's a great song. I love that bass line, just like the dun 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 dun, and that's how it starts. But then later on, you get the saxophone comes in and like mimics the bass line, and it's so good. And just like all the things that Jungle Man can do, he taught how to swim on land, how to do the jungle dance, kill a pig with his bare hands.
Yeah, how to drink 1,000 beers,
and then smoke a pound of that jungle weed.
Yeah,
it's the dance, man. For me, I want to learn the jungle dance. Absolutely.
Yeah, so good song. Beijing Taxi. I mean, this is a really strange song, but it's really in a strange way. It's quite affecting. It's like the sort of setup is in somebody waking up and
reaching for his glass of water.
Yeah, like what is it? It tastes like jeans.
Tastes like an old pair of jeans, is what I've written down here. So
essentially, he's going round. He's woke up, presumably after like a heavy night. He's going around his kitchen, can't find much to eat. Comes across a slice of bread, puts it in the toaster. The toaster comes on, the fire lights up, And it sort of likens it to the fires in the battlefields of World
World
War
War
One.
One, and reminds him of having his hands on his gun in 1914. But he even takes some significance in finding the single slice of white bread.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember how the lyrics go, but it was like, does he say he takes it as a sign or something?
He takes it as a sign that it was his.
That it was his.
Yeah.
I knew that it was mine or something.
Yeah. And it's like such a bizarre setup, but the way the lines are delivered, especially when the stuff about the war and fire and stuff comes in, it's like it takes on a sort of, it sounds serious, even though like it's a nonsense setup, but just the way it's delivered is really serious, and it's kind of affecting. Like its descriptions of things are really vivid, like whether they're sort of nonsensical or not, or like, because it's a ridiculous concept to think like the heated element on your toaster
It reminds you of the trenches.
conjures the trenches up, but it, like you believe them and it takes you there. So that's a very hard hitting track for me. I really like that song, and then it's got a strange sort of oriental outro, which I guess explains the name Beijing Taxi.
Aye, that's
But otherwise I have no idea why it's called that. Up All Night is okay. There's some pretty interesting lyrics about staying up all night and
Building a
machine. He's going to win the Nobel Prize for Modern Engineering. It's a proper groove train. It's a good song. But Special Helmet is certainly up there with my favourite tracks. It's another one of these kind of ridiculous stories, and it's about a woman he meets who has a special helmet
that protects her from all sorts.
that protects her from all sorts of things, in case we drive into a bush or a large animal and I get stomped on my head by its hoofs. And then there's this great scream of "I need my special helmet" that kind of repeats throughout the song, and it's absolutely fantastic. And it's got that signature sort of grunting bass, and there's a really cool screeching electronic sound, and those stabbing guitars that are just so good to listen to. And if the album had ended there, that's track 13, I'd have been pretty happy with that. We do get a final song. I ain't living long like this, which I could have done without, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a cover of a country song by
I didn't realise that.
Rodney Crowell,
Right.
and it's popularised by Waylon Jennings.
Oh, right, okay.
It's a sort of bluesy country song. The original's a sort of bluesy country song, and they just apply that Viagra Boys groove over the top of it, and it's okay. I don't think it really works that well, because it doesn't quite have that sense of humour, and you don't have those vibrant descriptions that you get with the rest of the album. So I could have easily dropped that and finished. I think Special Helmet would have been a much better way to end the album. It's a really strong song. So I absolutely love this album. There's not much more I can say than that.
I read an article by a guy called Michael Ham.
Where do you get these names?
I have no idea. What was it when we were discussing
Van Hogan?
Van Hogan Band or something?
Yeah, Van Hogan Band.
I think these people really existed.
I'm not
These
sure.
kind of pseudonyms.
You're just
Who
making
knows?
these interviews up.
But it was for a website called Spectator,
Okay.
and he described their sound as filthy chaos, and I thought that was quite apt.
Yeah, I think Filthy Chaos is it's a really good way to describe it. Yeah.
It's probably also worth mentioning they won an award as well for this album. They won 2019's Impala Album of the Year award, which celebrates independent European releases, and this was previously awarded to the likes of XX and Caribou and Adele.
Okay.
It's quite interesting to think of Adele and the Viagra Boys in the same kind of category.
It is, but Well deserved, I
Absolutely.
think. This is a really great album, and I'm glad it got this re-release, because it would have completely passed me by if it hadn't, because the end of last year I did a list of like my favourite albums of the year, and had I known about this album it would have been on there. So there's a little bit of regret there that I missed it, but to be fair, I think the deluxe edition is probably better, just because, well, it's got Special Helmet on it.
Yeah.
So
And Jungle Man.
and Jungle Man, yeah. So maybe it's for the best, but yeah, an excellent, bewildering album. What would you give this one?
I would say 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm just gonna agree with you, because I probably would have gone with high 9, but I think having sort of talked to you about it, it's kind of made me appreciate it more.
It's unlike anything I've heard before.
Yeah.
I think. It really kind of stands out.
Okay, so that was Street Worms Deluxe Edition by Viagra Boys. Yeah. give it a shot, it's pretty good.
Wiener dog. So kind of And then the man with the red hat. And it was very important that everybody was aware that she was something out of the ordinary.
So, you want to speak about Microwave next?
Sure.
Yeah.
Microwave. Okay, so this is Death is a Warm Blanket by Microwave. They're an alternative rock band from Atlanta, Georgia, and this is their third album released in September 2019. It's 10 tracks long and 29 minutes. So, what's your thoughts on Microwave's Death is a Warm Blanket?
There's quite a few kind of influences at play there. The first song, Leather Daddy, it's 3 minutes 40 seconds long. It opens with this kind of acoustic guitar, almost sounds like a kind of demo, I would have said.
Okay.
And then this kind of almost angsty, anxiety-ridden lyrics come in at about the kind of 17-second mark. And it's, I don't know if you're kind of aware of this kind of guy, but it kind of reminded me of, I think he's kind of previously been described as a kind of an emo rapper, Hobo Johnston. No?
Never heard of this guy.
Yeah, he's got a song or a kind of single in particular called Peach Scone,
Okay.
which was released in 2018. It kind of reminded me of that. Yeah, there's kind of a few interesting things at play there. Kind of the 44-second mark, you've kind of got the drums that come in, this kind of screeching guitar, and then later on in the song there's kind of this juxtaposition to the kind of intro to the song, where he's kind of, it's this kind of acousticy kind of demo sound, and then all of a sudden he starts kind of screaming his lyrics.
Yeah, I've sort of said it goes balls to the wall, hardcore, sort of hardcore screams. He's screaming about having a pile of regrets, and there's like a real intensity that comes in after that sort of restrained, subtle kind of intro.
Yeah.
And the intro reminded me a little bit of like Deja Entendu era Brand New. There's a lot of that sort of kind of emo acoustic sort of stuff on that album. So I was quite into that.
Yeah.
But there's also like some of the vocal melody reminds me. You ever heard the band Marcy Playground?
I've heard of them, but I can't
So
think if I've heard any of them.
I only know one song that's called Sex and Candy, and it's basically got this chorus that goes, I smell sex and candy, and it's like it's got a similar kind of vocal melody to that, and it's always good when songs remind you of other songs from like, you know, your youth.
Yeah.
So
There's that nostalgia
I like
factor.
that sort of nostalgia. Well, that for Deja Entendu, brand new as well. So this song, you know, from the get go is well into this. So it kind of drew me in. And the next song, Float to the Top, it's still got that kind of brand new vibe to it, a kind of sort of laid back brand new vibe, but then it goes into this like throat shredding chorus, this like one of my favourite choruses I've heard like all year, just the that sort of intense screamed delivery. I really like Float to the Top.
It's interesting because I thought the kind of opening 35 seconds reminded me of an Eels song.
I get the there is a sort of Eels vibe to it.
Aye. But yeah, again, like I kind of enjoyed it. Kind of quite like that kind of lo-fi kind of bridge round about the kind of 53-second mark with this kind of minimal drums, kind of trailing guitar sound, and then you kind of the lead singer kind of bursts in with that kind of return of that kind of screaming lyrics, as we've kind of already said. I find it hard to kind of discern the lyrics at times.
Yes.
Like kind of to decipher, but that didn't take away from my kind of appreciation or my kind of enjoyment of the song.
Yeah, I find that with a lot of heavy music.
Yeah.
Certainly with this sort of on the screaming side, you know, it's hard. It's hard to pick out what people are screaming, but most of the time I don't care. I just love the sound of somebody screaming like, with intensity and sort of passion. I just can't get enough of that shit, to be honest. Like the lyrics are quite good though. When I looked them up, it's like wake up dried up in a wet bed, 2 empty fifths and a mouth of chalk, washed up, torn up, disaffected. My friends don't swim, we float to the top. It's quite
right. So is that what he's singing when he's right?
When he starts screaming in the chorus. So it's a cool chorus.
Yeah, it's cool. Very cool.
And I like the way this album sort of flows in like through the tracks. There's at times because of the different sort of, there's the soft parts and then these heavy parts and this ebb and flow. Sometimes you don't really know where one track ends and the next begins. Like you can just listen to it and sometimes you think you're listening to the same song but just a sort of a completely different part of that song, which I think is really well done, the way they've just kind of, it's a really good kind of production job and a sort of concept that they've managed to get these to flow together so well.
I noticed that in a kind of few of the songs, in particular the fourth song on the album, The Brakeman Has Resigned, and then the following track, Hate TKO. I thought they kind of melded quite well into each other. And then there was another instance of that happening as well. The 6th track, Pull, and then the 7th track, Love Will Tear Us Apart, as well, which is quite a short song.
Yeah, it's less than a minute, I think. Love will tear us apart, I think it is. But I think The Brakeman Has Resigned into Hate TKO was kind of the one that I kind of noticed, because I was just listening to the song and thought it was the same song, and then I looked, I was like, oh, it's a different track. And same with I think Hate TKO into Pool does a similar thing where it changes style, but it sounds like it's changing style in the same song.
Yeah, because Pool kind of opens with this kind of atmospheric, almost ethereal kind of melody, with kind of muted kind of vocals, which kind of come in at the kind of 12-second mark. However, then there's that tonal shift again, kind of just under the kind of 40-second mark. Where I've kind of written that the kind of vocals pull focus and they kind of appear a bit clearer, and then there's that return to that kind of heavy guitar sound that we kind of hear in the kind of earlier songs, round about the 120, 118 mark, and again it ends with the screamers, the screamer, the singer screaming the lyrics, and again I just thought that again, I suppose with the earlier songs I quite enjoy that kind of interesting juxtaposition between the kind of restrained lyrics that we kind of spoke about earlier on, and then this kind of return to the kind of screaming and
it's like
harsh sound.
it's like it's just like a release of like pent up frustration and anger. It just sort of plods along relatively calmly, but it's, you know, the lyrics are quite sad, and
I would say all the lyrics are quite bleak,
like sad and
nihilistic.
bleak, and then that kind of just explodes into like just rage. And it's fantastic. I think the way that it does that, and there certainly seems to be a theme about like feeling like you haven't achieved anything, or a fear of not achieving anything, and being sort of I'm trying to find the song. There's lyrics about sort of being trapped in a scene, a music scene where other bands are happy to play it safe, and it's on HTKO. So he talks about, he's sort of cynically lamenting the lack of originality in music, and he sort of says, so bleach out all the colours, paint it black and grey, kill off all your heroes, destroy whatever makes you feel unsafe. So it's like a diatribe on like these bands that are happy to just like put out bland music because that seems to be what's popular, and not trying to do something
with integrity
and you know, unique. I think there's a lot of that on this album, frustration with that kind of attitude, and kind of worry of not standing out.
What would you say your favourite song of the album is?
It's hard. I think it's quite hard to pick one out because of the way everything kind of flows together. When I first heard this, I think I really enjoyed the first like 4 tracks, and I really like The Brakeman Has Resigned just because of how sort of brutal it is as it opens, and then it kind of sort of calms down and has these soaring kind of clean vocals before bringing back these sort of dreadful screams. And it's got what I was talking about, this sort of hopelessness of being in a like travelling band. There's lyrics about when all our stickers are peeled off of the bathroom we shit in the places we visit, I'll have nothing to show for this. So if I had to pick my favourite song, I think it would be that. But I think it's more of an album you just listen to from start to finish and appreciate as a whole, and enjoy the way everything just ebbs and flows and you know, merges into one another.
I'd agree. Although seeing that Carry, the 9th track on the album, actually that's probably, if I had to kind of pick a standout song or a favourite song from the album, I would probably choose that one. It's a real earworm, or I found it to be a real earworm. I'm not singing the song, singing the kind of lyrics, but I found myself humming the melody over and over again, and I think there's quite a lot of kind of interesting kind of vocal delivery within that song, where he kind of does wee interesting falsetto bits, which I really quite enjoyed.
I think he does that throughout the album as well, which is quite cool. Carry for me, I think it's a really good song, and it reminded me a bit of like early Weezer, some of it, especially the chorus. It just had that sort of, because Weezer, you kind of think of them as like a poppy rock band, but they did have some real sort of chug to their and crunch to their chords and things early on, and you know, I'm talking early Weezer, I'm not talking
Black Album
Weezer. There's no moonwalking naked in this, but like, I really like the lyrics, and I think I've been reading out a lot of lyrics in this episode, but I don't tend to gravitate to lyrics. I find things I like singing along to. I don't necessarily take it in that much, or I don't go hunting for lyrics, but I just find some of these things jump out at me. Like on Carrie, I found my niche in this pile of shit. I've got nothing left to prove, but there's just nothing else I really want to do, so this is what I do. It's just a really sort of hopeless album. But I don't know why I like that so much.
Another lyric from Carrie that I kind of picked out as well. I might not have kind of written it down correctly, but what I've got here is, do you murder me in your lucid dreams? Oh God, I hope you do, and plan it out in real life someday soon.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite cool.
And I think the way the album ends, and part of it, is worth talking about, because it's a really beautiful, sorrowful track, and it's got a slow build to this dramatic middle section where the band sound like they're just throwing absolutely every last ounce of energy they have into this kind of this moment, and for the end of the song, it returns back to that sorrow, beautiful sound of the opening, as the song fades out, and again the lyrics are quite intriguing. So when it's all unfolding, when you're ripping out your seams, when the tides start calling, I hope you think of me. I want to know when it all falls apart that I did my part. That part of it was me. So it's like a desperate call to be remembered for something, like recognised and not just fading into obscurity amongst the crowd, like that famous Kurt Cobain line. It's better to burn out than fade away.
Oh, was that Kurt Cobain that said that?
Well, apparently it was.
Right,
It's
okay.
apparently in his suicide letter, but it just conjured up that for me. It's just this, just desperation to make something worthwhile.
It'll stand the test of time, as it were.
And I think they've done that here, because I think it's a really fantastic album, and I'd never heard of Microwave before at all. What I've heard since is that this is maybe a bit different from the sort of thing they've released before.
Right, okay.
I think maybe this is a bit rawer, a bit darker than the sort of thing that they're known for.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe going back and listening to other stuff by Microwave, I might not be into it as much. But I haven't done that, so I
No,
don't
neither
know.
have I. have
But
to admit.
that maybe the album does just feel like, well, what we've been doing isn't enough, and they're just absolutely throwing everything into this. But it's just full of sadness and darkness, and desperation. But it's often that kind of stuff that breeds the best music. I think this is a really good album.
Yeah.
I think I've said all I need to say about that. I would maybe give this a strong 9.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think I'd go with that.
I'd probably agree with you there, actually. 8 or 9 for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so that was Death is a Warm Blanket by Microwave. Okay, what we got left? The Amyl.
Amyl and the Sniffers.
This is the self-titled debut album from Amyl and the Sniffers. They're described as an Australian pub rock and punk band from Melbourne. Apparently pub rock is a style of music played in Australia through the 70s and 80s.
I suppose it was a phenomenon within the UK as well. I'm trying to think what type of bands would have kind of traditionally been described as
Pub rock.
I want to say maybe early Slade, but then I think they were classified as glam rock as well, maybe later on in their career.
I'm not sure. It's kind of the first time I'd heard the term, so I'm not the best person to ask. So, like I said, it's their debut album. It's released in May this year. It's only 29 minutes long, like that last Microwave album was. They've previously released EPs Giddy Up in 2016, Big Attraction in 2017. And how would you describe this album?
I would describe it as just a straight up traditional punk album.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me, I mean, I don't think it would seem all that unusual in, how would I describe it? It could quite easily have been released in the kind of 70s, 80s alongside the likes of kind of Sex Pistols, X-Ray Specs, The Clash, those types of bands.
Yeah, I've got like Black Flag and the Germs. That kind of late 70s, that late 70s punk.
Yeah. It's interesting, this is the kind of second, I suppose, female fronted Australian punk band that we've kind of reviewed. Obviously we kind of looked at the Press Club with their release Wasted Energy. I would say that this album feels slightly different to that. I don't want to say that the Press Club feels more produced, because that has kind of negative connotations. However, it seems a lot more kind of polished than the Amyl and Sniffers album, I would say.
I think Press Club still has a sort of rawness to it, but Amyl and the Sniffers is like it's old school, like you say. It harks back to that old school punk era. So it like you say, it does sound less produced, but I think Press Club, they're different. Press Club are more punk rock and sort of emo than Amyl and the Sniffers are. But I think it's cool that they both sound like obviously Australian.
Amyl and Sniffers is undeniably
Yeah, I mean Press Club are Australian, but Amyl and the Sniffers are Australian as fuck.
Oh yeah, that's something that I've kind of that's how I've kind of described them in the past. It's just brilliant, isn't it? Like it's great. Interestingly, when I was reading about Fontaines DC that we kind of described earlier on, I came across an article by a guy called Thomas Smith for the NME on the 25th of September 2019.
He's got a surprisingly normal name.
He does, Thomas Smith. He hailed Fontaines and Amyl and the Sniffers as being the next kind of future festival headliners. I don't know if they've necessarily got that appeal, if that makes sense. Like, I enjoy them, but I don't know if they've necessarily got...
I think it's a bold claim to make.
Is.
They're a band on their debut album, and I think... I don't have any particular examples of interviews or anything, but I've sort of heard that they're like a fairly electrifying live act, but going... Yeah, it's maybe a little bit of an over the top statement to call them a future headlining band at this stage.
Yeah.
They've got 2 EPs and a debut album. Time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to make some kind of comparison about the sort of Fontaines DC being really Irish, and Amyl and the Sniffers being really Australian.
I mean, I suppose maybe it's worthwhile saying that. You know what I mean? Like, I suppose previously you've had kind of bands that have kind of affected American accents, whereas I feel as if you're kind of getting less and less of that now. People feel more comfortable and confident to sing in their own kind of dialects. And
I don't think I would like this album as much if it was sung in that, what is it they call it?
Cross Atlantic?
What do they call it there? It doesn't matter, we'll skip over that. I don't.
Full American.
Yeah, I don't think I would enjoy it as much if it was sang in a fake American accent, or just like a bland kind of American accent. I think the fact that it is so Australian is part of the appeal. I think it's really fun, and yeah, it's just great fun. It's really short, but it's a lot of fun to listen to. Like the second song on the track is called "Gacked on Anger." Like, I mean, there aren't many better song titles than "Gacked on Anger," and it's just about being like having a shit life and being really stressed out to the point that you're so angry that you're completely fucked up, like you're on drugs, and it's just like, yeah, it's just great fun. I've said 1 minute 49 seconds of pure unadulterated fist pumping punk. And you can, like, having not seen this band live, you can imagine just being in the crowd, like with your fist in the air, like shouting along to these songs. There's a few pretty good standouts here. There's GFY. I'll let you figure out what that's short for by yourself. But there's like a really cool like guitar riff and like bass rattle through the verse. And then there's this chorus. It's you want my interest, I'm not impressed. You wanted success, but you've just got to go fuck yourself. So imagine like that, belting out that last line, just in a crowd of maniacs. I think it would be great fun.
Yeah.
And you've got the following track, Angel, which is pretty much the opposite of GFY. Is basically the lead singer looking for love, but she's looking for love, but it's not. She doesn't get it back.
It's not reciprocal, is it?
Exactly. There's a cool guitar lick in the intro, really good sort of air guitar fodder, and there's a decent guitar solo as well. And there's these sort of cool rock and roll like guitar solos and guitar licks and big chunky riffs like all over the place. Just all over the album. It makes for a really good time. The guitars on like Monsoon Rock, like they sound a little bit like Sleep Now in the Fire by Rage Against the Machine as it opens, like sort of briefly. But it's just a sort of riot. Like you can just imagine people going absolutely nuts to this song. And it's like, even a monsoon won't stop us from rocking, essentially, like just going mental in a massive rainstorm. I think one of my favourite songs is Got You. It's got a really cool like grumbling bass intro, like smashing drums and guitars in the chorus, but it's got this really cool call and answer vocals. Just going about, I don't care about the things I have, I got you. I don't want anybody else, I got you. And the lead singer delivers the I don't care about the things I have, and then there's like a gang vocal I got you response. It's just so much fun, like just to shout out, and I think that will get a really big reception in a live environment. And like, it's not perfect. There's a few like there's some Punisher which just, it's not as interesting vocally, and it's just kind of a bit forgettable. I think there's, again, Shake Ya doesn't really do it too much for me. So it's a good like sort of foot stomper and head shaker, but it doesn't really jump out as some of the other tracks I've mentioned, like Got You, and in fact there's a song called Control, which has got a cool line about I like being a big boss, I like telling people off, I like working under pressure, I'm a freak, it gives me pleasure, I like control, I'm obsessed. And it's just like the like bratty kind of snot-nosed delivery, like you know, she's just saying I don't give a fucking fuck, basically. It's just like, and there's that all over this album. we don't give a fuck. We're just enjoying ourselves, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And it's from listening to this and Press Club, there's obviously some really cool music coming out in Australia right now. There's an album by a band called Pagan that I was really into last year, and that's like a mix of rock and roll and black metal and hardcore. And there's a band called Sleep Talk, who are a really good melodic hardcore band. And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff coming out of Australia that's worth
a mention.
Worth a mention, yeah. So yeah, it's a good album. I still think I prefer the Press Club album. Maybe because it is more, I don't like using the word polished. It's more together, like they've honed their craft a bit better, rather than polished or produced.
I suppose there's a greater musical technicalities.
Yeah, I'd probably.
I don't know how best to describe that. But yeah, this Amyl Sniffers just kind of straightforward.
It's just like constant punches to the face for a half hour, and then it's gone. And
there's maybe a bit more subtleties and complexities to kind of Press Club's musical composition.
Yeah, I'd say so. So,
but I think they'd be a fucking great band to see live.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said,
Can't
just like
that at all.
Proper fist pumping stuff. So, how would you rate this?
I'd say an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's be interesting to see what they do next. Whether they just keep doing this, or whether they try and spread their wings a little. I think they'll probably just keep doing this, to be fair.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what kind of age group as well that they kind of appeal to, whether it will be kind of like the older generation that kind of grew up with, you know, like you said, like the Germs, UK Subs even, you know, those types of bands.
Yeah. I think there's always going to be people out there who want this kind of intensity to their music. I know that this isn't necessarily what's popular now, but there's always going to be like people out there who just want to jump about and go mental.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is perfect for that. Okay, so that was a self-titled debut album by Amyl and the Sniffers. Okay, so this is the last record we're going to talk about, and this is a debut EP from Liverpool post-punk band Yammerer. At least I've heard them described as a post-punk band. The EP is called Reality Escape Report, and it's due to be released on the 22nd of November 2019. So the band got a strange name. I looked up what Yammerer means, and it is one who complains or whines peevishly. So
I suppose that makes sense.
That might go some way into
Yammer on.
Yeah, that might go some way into explaining the band's kind of sound.
I was going to say their overall aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because sorry if I'm interrupting here, Sneds, but I don't know if I would describe them as post-punk. I don't know if they're maybe a bit more it's more like maybe prog rock, progressive type stuff. I only listened to the two songs from the EP, Airport and Seasons 13 to 31. Is that right in saying?
Yes.
So I found Airport difficult to get my kind of teeth into. I found that it was quite difficult to kind of hook into, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It almost felt like a jam session. However, there was interesting aesthetics in there. There was kind of interesting kind of guitar riffs and sounds and what have you. But I wouldn't necessarily say it sounds like your kind of average post-punk band. I would say it's more kind of prog rock or experimental alternative type stuff.
It's definitely experimental.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got like weird sort of bouncing, like twirling even sort of guitar riffs, like and the sort of stabbing guitars, and like the singer just sort of howls away, and I mean a lot of I find it difficult to pick out some of the lyrics, and I imagine they're fairly nonsensical anyway, but I don't mind that. Like I said earlier, that often, despite having picked out tons of lyrics in this episode, I'm not really a lyrics guy. But I actually found the some of the vocal delivery to have some similarities with Viagra Boys. I think that kind of like, it's like, you know, that howled kind of delivery that's on a lot of those Viagra Boys songs is definitely here. I think Viagra Boys have a more of a knack for clearly delivering a story.
Yeah.
But I like that kind of manic, chaotic vocal delivery, and in fact the musicianship. I like that madness, and I think it's a good. Airport is certainly a good song to just kind of dance around like a maniac to. I like that it's very different to a lot of things that I've heard. I mean, ever, to be fair. There's not much that sounds like this, I don't think.
It's interesting you make the comparison between Viagra Boys, because I thought certainly more so with the second song that I listened to, Seasons 13 to 31, I thought the kind of singer initially sounded a bit like Idols.
Yeah, okay.
We kind of mentioned them already. And I found that the more accessible track out of the two that I listened to.
It's certainly more straightforward musically, and actually it's got sort of like that sort of gritty, chunky bass line that drives the song along, and the drum beat. That's got similarities with Viagra Boys as well. There's a lot of that on Streetworms, so I quite enjoyed that. And there is a sort of, I think there's probably a story in here somewhere, but I couldn't really pick it out. And it's worth saying the season 13 to 31 is 9 minutes long.
It's over 9 minutes.
Is it over 9?
I think it's 9. Is it 9:14 or 9:15, something like that? Let me have a look.
Yeah. So I mean, it's over 9 minutes long. That's all you need to know, really, isn't it?
9:14. So
it's 9 minutes and 14 seconds, and the 14 seconds make the difference. But I like that. I like the sort of driving drum beat, and there's some weird electronics on there. There's a cool bass line.
It's an interesting, almost oriental guitar riff.
There is. I said there's an Arabian Nights synth.
Maybe it is synth.
I don't know if it's synth or not, but then there's like, the opening lines are, I bet you smell like a particularly beautiful flower, says Hades to Persephone. So that feels like it's going to start a story.
Yes.
But then I really struggled to pick out what that story was, and much of the other lyrics. One of the bits I picked out just because I thought it was funny was, I'm up to my nuts in the feeling of guilt.
Yeah.
Which I think is a pretty classic, a classic line. And that kind of, that sort of bass groove and beat, it doesn't really let up for 9 minutes, and there's sort of weird things that punctuate it. There's some sort of synth laser blasts, and there's the ending is a bit like Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, like sort of alien synth sound, and I think it's quite like it's a long track, but I think it's a really epic way to end an EP. But I can imagine there'll be some people who'll just like give up on it because listening to one track for 9 minutes can be a slog.
How long's the first? How long's Airport? Just out of
A
interest.
few minutes.
Because there was times where I thought I was listening to multiple songs.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe 4 minutes, something like that, which, it's average
Yeah.
song length, maybe.
I think because there was such a variation in kind of riffs and what have you. Yeah, there was times where I thought I'd listened to a couple of songs by the time the actual track had came to an end.
Yeah, I quite enjoy that. It just it tries a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Within the same song. Certainly in Airport, I think seasons 30 to 31 it doesn't stray too far from that same style and sound for the entire track, so I can understand why that would put some people off, but I think there's enough subtle noises and sounds and sort of weird vocal parts in there to keep you interested if you're willing to stick it out. So there's two middle songs, the songs that you haven't heard, and these are actually both singles, previously released singles. So I'd heard them before, and they're both on monthly playlists. I can't tell you which month, and I could have gone back and checked, but it doesn't really matter. The fact I liked them enough to put them on a sort of a playlist celebrating the months, my favourite music of the month. So you've got Poisonous, Reptilian, Colleagues and Company, which sort of chaotic and raucous. It's got a sort of a slightly out of tune sounding guitar lick, that kind of a sort of twirling guitar song that punctuates the song throughout, and it's got, again, there's some kind of story in here, but I find it difficult to pick out. Some of the lyrics are talking about poisonous reptile colleague, please die of an illness never been seen. So there's someone, it's a song about hating your colleagues, I don't know, but it's an interesting song, and there's a sort of spacious breakdown, the 2 minute mark, with some like far away sounding vocals and like a dirge of electronic noises, and then after that it sort of kicks back into that original guitar lick that opens the song, and that's how it closes out. So it's quite a fun track. Yeah, I quite like it a lot. And then there's Wives Head, which is spelled YVES Head. So if that's Welsh or what, but apparently it's pronounced Wife's Head. And it's just got like a really jaunty guitar lick, and which just, the song itself just breathes nonsense and chaos, and there's these like mental spurts of guitar or electronics or something. I'm not sure if it's guitar or electronics, but it's sort of weird burst of sound. And again, I have absolutely no idea what the song's about, and there's this repeated scream of Wife's Head, which you can join in and sing along with that, but I couldn't really follow if there was a story or what was going on, but it was a lot of fun. Like, I find these songs fun to listen to, whether I really understand what's going on or not.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of sort of invention, and the songs are inventive and they're unique, and they're not forgettable. I think once you've heard these songs, you're not necessarily going to forget them, but they're certainly not going to be for everyone. I think a lot of people might find it a bit too chaotic, a bit too bizarre, maybe.
Yeah.
But I certainly think that these songs were a lot of fun. But I think you should
I'll go back.
I think it's worth listening to those 2 songs in the middle, so you get a kind of feel for the overall sound. But to be fair, Airport and Poisonous Reptilian Colleagues and Company and Wives' Head are more similar. Like they don't sound exactly the same, but they've got that sort of style to them. Whereas seasons 13 to 31 is a little bit different and it's not as like immediately chaotic as those songs are. It sort of spreads the chaos out over a long running time. But I think it's definitely worth a listen. I think a lot of people will get something out of this. So yeah,
give it a look.
Give it a bash.
Yeah.
I will. Well, if you haven't listened to that thing, so you can't rate it. But judgment. I'm going to give this a strong 7. I think.
Right. Okay.
Because I do quite like a lot of this. It maybe took me a little bit of time to kind of, I was going to say wrap my head around it, but I still don't think I have wrapped my head around it, to be honest. It's more let it wrap itself around me, sort of get its claws into me.
Expose yourself to it.
Yeah. So I think a strong 7, and I think they're a band worth watching to see what sort of thing they come up with next.
Would you make a comparison with them to the Black Midi album that we listened to several weeks ago? Granted, we only listened to the opening track of the Black Midi album. However, it's still got that, I can't remember the name of the opening track of the Black Midi album, but I think it maybe was released as one of the singles. And it has that kind of experimental, almost like it sounds like a jam, it sounds like a band jamming. Would you say the same's true of
I think some of this sounds a bit jam-ish, but I think that Black Midi album is, I don't know, like I can this is much like, despite this being weird and bizarre and out there, it's much more immediate than Black Midi, as far as what I've listened to. And listening to this made me want to go back to it. Listening to Black Midi didn't make me want to go back to it, and I might go back to it to try and understand what the kind of excitement around that band is, but these are more like songs than Black Midi.
Okay.
Black Midi sounds like a just nonsense jam, and it's boring. Like I found it boring.
I can sink my teeth into it. I remember we maybe listened to a few, I think maybe we listened to the first 2 or 3 songs. I remember, I think there was a song called Ska on that album, and it had a significant, it's a word I'm looking for, there was nothing ska about it, basically.
yeah, there was something like that. I would say...
false advertising.
Yeah, I'd say if you want to listen to something that's weird and interesting and a bit different,
that you'll maybe go back to.
Then maybe go back to, then give Yammerer a go and just forget about Black Midi, unless you're into bizarre, proggy, impossible to listen to. I think we've gone off a bit of a tangent here, but there are weird bands out there, some of them good, some of them bad, and I think this is one of the good ones, and I think they're worth keeping an eye on. I don't really want to bash Black Midi. Too much. Without having given them a proper chance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because there's a lot of buzz over that band, but I think there should be buzz about bands like this that are more cohesive.
Right. Okay.
I would say. So, if that sounds like your bag, then give Yammerer's debut EP Reality Escape Report a chance. It's out on the 22nd of November.
And will that be released on Spotify?
Yeah, it will.
Good.
I think the band don't have like a social media presence, so they're not on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, but they will be on Spotify and physical releases, so we can always revisit it, or just get your thoughts on those other 2 tracks.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, I'll look into it.
Worth seeing what you think about them. Okay, I think that's us. That was pretty long.
It's to be expected, man. We reviewed, 5 albums there?
Yeah.
And an EP. Well,
2 EPs?
2 EPs, 3 albums, 4 albums. What we're talking about.
I can cut. There's a bit of rambling shite in there from me that I can cut out and some bits and pieces. Thanks for listening to episode 3 of the Scratchcast. Please do check out some of the bands and albums we discussed on this episode. Some of this music really is quite exceptional. Don't forget, you can check us out at theheadscratcher.com, see what new articles are up there. There's a new monthly playlist out looking back at the best music from October. And don't forget to visit us on Facebook and on Twitter for all the best pop culture news from around the web. See you next month.
It's not finished. It's finished.